We have supervisors Tony O'Brien and Chris Fairchild in the house on Real Talk with Keith Smith. These shows, we sit back, we get entertained, we get educated, we get enlightened, and it's budget time. You guys just put the budget to bed.
We did.
So you guys are breathing a sigh of relief from hard work behind you, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's not an easy task doing this.
Nope.
When this show's over, I'm heading to the river.
There you go.
Relax a little.
That's the voice, Chris Fairchild. You'll see him in a matter of moments on the program. Keith, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Sunshine is out. It's not 20-something degrees. And we got Fluvanna in the house, man. We're going to talk some good stuff. And I found out, because I didn't get a chance to watch the meeting on Wednesday, it looks like I'm not paying any more money for my house in Fluvanna County.
We're going to talk about it.
That's what I love about living in Fluvanna County.
Amen.
I'm paying more cash.
I was giving Fluvanna some props before the show started, so why don't we get the show rocking and rolling? We're in your hands, Judah. Tell us what to do, baby. Guys, good Friday morning. I'm Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, across Albemarle County, Fluvanna County, Central Virginia, the Commonwealth country in the world, right here on the I Love Seaville network, where we utilize social media for the good to entertain, educate, enlighten. We put 24 hours a week of content out on this network, where you, the viewer and listener, can become a more informed citizen, taxpayer, and stakeholder. Judah Wickower is our director, our North Star behind the scenes. Judah, when we get that studio camera going behind you, maybe you wave to all your adoring fans in the studio camera. If you could, if we could go to the four-shot, my friend, and we will welcome three gentlemen that are just fantastic people. Keith Smith, Chris Fairchild, and Tony O'Brien. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you kindly for joining us.
Hey.
Good to be here again.
It's great to have you. Keith, this is one of my favorite panels you put together.
Yeah, it's my home county, so and I happen to know these folks. One of them a little bit longer than the other, but I won't say which one, and probably he may say which one.
The more handsome one.
The more handsome one. Oh, jeez, we started already.
That's what I love about this.
It wasn't even.
Please
we're not
keep
even
the singers
2 minutes
coming, baby. Please.
into it.
He's just a hair ahead of us.
Oh,
Or should I say behind? I don't know.
excuse me. What was that? What were you saying about hair? I'm sorry.
Oh, you know.
Tony O'Brien with the best singer so far. I like it.
So hey, let's start off with the
All
who's.
lives matter.
Oh, that's true.
Bald lives matter.
Can we move on, gentlemen, please?
Daryl Hammond loves the conversation already. All right, Keith, let's get to the nitty-gritty, my friend.
No, I just can't get past bald lives matter, but that's okay. So, hey, Tony, do us a favor. Introduce yourself to the world. Tell us about what you're doing what your role is on the board, and a little bit about your business and your personal life. if you don't mind.
Great. Yeah, no. Well, I'm Tony O'Brien. I'm a year older today, or yesterday.
Oh,
happy
happy birthday!
Tony.
So I'm quickly approaching the sectarian club. But
Are we the same age?
close.
You're under me, right?
I'm under you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I
under
always
you.
thought
So
of you two as
quickly
father
approaching.
figures.
That's right. Quickly approaching.
It's his turn. It's his turn. Behave.
So I'm on the Fluvanna Board of Supervisors. I've been, there now 9 years. This is my 9th year starting
Really?
right
Wow.
now. So I just completed my election last year with Mr. Fairchild as well too. And it's a privilege to serve. I love what I do. I love serving the county, and I love the people of Fluvanna. In my regular life, what I do is I spend time working at Helix Computer Systems, which is my company that I founded almost 24 or 5 years ago, and have the privilege of serving a lot of wonderful businesses in the Charlottesville and Central Virginia area for IT services, network support, and telephony as well too. And we do some programming as well too. So
Cool.
Yeah, it's great business, and I have great employees, and really, again, very, very, very blessed. Very blessed.
Before we get to Chris Fairchild, some funny comments are coming in over here.
I didn't think it was going to take long.
Cindy Alp, handsome, bald is beautiful. Daryl Hammond says, Chris just grew out his hair. He grew out of his hair over here. So here's the cool part of the show is you guys can interact with the panelists. He's got, I said the first thing when Chris came into the studio, dude is not aging. I mean, he looks like he's 35 years old. He's like found the fountain of youth over here.
Hey,
I say
ladies.
that every time. All right, introduce yourself to everybody that's watching.
Chris Fairchild, grew up in Fluvanna County and have served on the board before. In 2011, I was appointed, and that's when we redistricted from 6 to 5 seats, and my seat was the one that went away. And Don Weaver, who served for 32 years, retired from serving the Cunningham District, and I was just elected this past year to serve, and have just started my first year. National Filter Services, my company, been in Fluvanna County, I think, for 32 years, and Nationwide Air Filter Service and Coil Cleaning Company, and a customer of Helix Computer. So,
Ooh, that's an interesting dynamic, isn't it?
yeah, we keep that apart.
But the reason I wanted you guys to talk about your business is it's really important. I can't think of, and I may have this wrong, but the local boards, I don't know if any two business owners are on it. One of them for sure is in a national firm. And a little bit later, I want to talk about pick your, I was going to say brain, but
All right.
we'll move on from
Yeah.
that. I want to pick your brain a little bit because you travel around the country quite a bit, and you're in different, and how you're seeing things out there in the market and how you're seeing the country as a whole to go ahead and do that. But I kind of wanted to kick the show off. We've got, the board adopted the budget, set a rate. That was on Wednesday. I didn't get a chance to watch it. So, gentlemen, tell me how it went and tell me how my personal taxes that I pay on my house is going to go. Somebody jump in.
Well, I'll just start by saying when a lot of localities around us have been raising virtually every tax, and we were just talking about that before the show got started, this board did unanimously, without even much discussion, keep our taxes low and even reduce some taxes. I think we went on personal property from 435 to 370, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
And
So you lowered it.
we
Personal
did.
property,
That's
yeah.
big time.
Yeah.
Well, because of what I call the virtual rates, the cost of everything right now, an F-350 that's 5 years old costs as much as it did the day it was purchased, and we shouldn't be getting an artificial high off of that. And I'll give that to our Commissioner of the Revenue, Mel Sheridan, the first that mentioned that to me, that is in charge of making sure we collect all that, said, why should we benefit? Why should we take it away from the people, especially at times that when we're 2 years into the COVID mess?
My 2017 Tacoma, I went to the dealer to say, maybe I'll get a new truck. They offered me more for that 2017 truck than I would have bought a new truck, which I totally didn't understand.
Yeah.
The math on that,
Right.
on it. It only has about 50,000 miles on it, on that end of it. So it's just amazing how the used car thing. So thank you for keeping that rate low. So I'm not going to get a new truck because I'm going to keep my 2017. But Tony, talk about it from my perspective, right? I'm actually in Mr. Fairchild's district. Is my cash that I'm paying on my house going
Who'd you
up?
vote for?
Mickey
Sorry,
Mouse.
anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I didn't have a choice there. I think there was only one person that
No,
okay.
there was a write-in candidate. So,
There was a writing candidate.
there was a write-in candidate.
I voted for you. Did you want to hear
That's
this?
what he wanted to hear.
but he really wanted to vote for me.
I voted for you. My wife voted for you.
He wanted to hear that.
I'm pretty sure my dog voted for you twice.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened, but apparently it works.
That's just as believable as that you voted for me. But go ahead.
I did vote for you.
No,
you know
I
I
know,
love
yeah,
you.
yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
tell
I
me,
mean,
am I paying more cash next year or not?
No, you're not. Yeah, we lowered it to 87 cents. Was pushing for 86.999 just so that we could have that, but I couldn't convince the board to do that.
Yeah, I fought it.
No, in the 8 years that I've been there, this is the first time that we've lowered the rate without it being, due to an assessment, which, that's technically not lowering if you're not equalizing. And it's a fourth or fifth unanimous vote for the budget, which I think really speaks well to the hard work of the staff and what they do to make sure that they work with the various different departments to create a budget that that is sensible and good and fiscally responsible, and that the board can fully support. So kudos to them. They really work very hard to do that. And it's, again, it's exciting when you can lower the rate. And one of the criticisms that has been voiced many times is that Fluvanna has one of the highest real estate tax rates in the area. I always say that that's really a misleading statement, because we also have some very affordable housing in Fluvanna. When you compare the price of homes in Fluvanna versus the price of homes in Charlottesville and Albemarle, you get real bang for your buck there. But of course, when you're paying your real estate taxes, it's a formula, right? It's the tax times the value of your home, and so you might have a higher tax rate, but you certainly can be paying a lot less, and that's certainly the case if you look.
Well,
at
it's a triangle, right?
basis,
You have assessment, you have rate, and you have the budget,
Yeah.
right? So and that's great to hear, because I didn't get a chance to watch the meeting on Wednesday. And it's great to hear that my actual cash out of my pocket, my escrow account, is going to go down next year. So thank you, gentlemen, for doing
And
it.
I also want to piggyback on something he said about staff. Our county administrator gave us an administrator's budget that was pretty spot on. So really, he gave us the starting point to go off of, and it was just little tweaks that he participated in from there.
Which is not normal, right? That's not normal in that process. Sometimes there's some
It can go the other way.
Substantial changes.
It can be.
But
But we also benefited, in fairness, we also benefited from the ARPA dollars that have been flowing from the state and federal government as well for the relief for COVID. And so that certainly has added a boost.
Do we
to-
have a
to the
surplus this
economy.
year?
Yes, we're adding to our general fund.
So that's what you're doing with the surplus.
Yeah,
It's going to the general fund.
Going into the general
So
fund.
was that impactful on the decision of keeping the rate a little lower?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Sure. I mean, there's always a temptation to, try to shop a rate, I think. And, one of the ways that you can shop a rate is you can, dip into your general fund, which I think is always a mistake. But sometimes, sometimes that happens. And so I think when you can add to the general fund, that's really critical, because it gives you the flexibility. In fact, we talked about that in the meeting, because one of the things that just was released by the Treasury Department was that if you had less than $10 million of ARPA funds, that you could choose to allocate those towards your general budget.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know
They
that.
sort of took away the specifications that said you had to use it for these specific purposes, and they added additional time and length for how you could use those funds as well, too. So
Which
that-
is a
that
great
gives us
move.
flexibility.
If the money was going to be put out there, then it gave us so much more flexibility
Yeah.
of how to use it, and gave us, being the locals, more decision-making in what we knew benefits our citizens.
So last Friday, so on the next couple of Fridays, I'm trying to have the local jurisdictions come in, talk about, the health of their county, of the jurisdiction, where they're at. So, guys chime in. How's Fluvanna County doing? What's the health? What's the litmus test of it? And where do you think it's going?
And you know what's crazy about this? And I'll get out of your way. Yesterday we had Jesse Rutherford on the show. Nelson County is killing it.
Oh, yeah.
They are in a phenomenal financial position. You guys are killing it. The urban core of Central Virginia, and let's talk Charlottesville, may be from a jurisdictional standpoint in the toughest situation financially.
So the question is why?
That's the question. And
Why?
I think it has to do, and you've taught me this, institutional memory,
Yeah.
massive openings in local government, massive turnover, but the people that are feeling that sting are the taxpayers.
So that's a great piece of, and let's if somebody, I don't tag Eric Dowell, but that's part of why I think the success of Fluvanna County has been through this process is the institutional memory, right? Eric was the chief financial officer, right? Well, it's not called the chief,
Well,
director of
Financial
finance,
director, yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to corporate,
Right.
but on the end of it, and he moved from that position into the administrator position, and we have historically in Fluvanna County very little turnover, right? Is that
At the staff level?
at the staff level?
Historically, yeah.
Yeah. So like to Jerry's point, when you have a lot of turnover and let's say lack of leadership from
We got a consultant city manager now
yeah.
that we're going to renew on another 6-month contract that's getting more money than a traditional city manager would have, and he doesn't even know, and it's essentially a mercenary. It's a hired gun. I mean, you think about that.
Yeah, we'll try to take a little bit of the high road on that. I think they're turning the corner a bit on that as far as the city goes. But to talk about and to give kudos to the county, Fluvanna County, you guys did not have that, right? That was not always the case. There were some years back.
I would say municipalities are feeling what the private sector is feeling on as far as keeping enough people in
Labor.
the seats. Yeah.
That's where I want to go with you on your national business, right? Are you seeing that same labor crunch nationwide in your company?
We are, but I'm in a business that's always been there. And so I was talking with a friend in another business in the national facility service industry last week, and we were.
What was his name? What's his name?
Hey,
What's his name?
my one friend.
It's Keith, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
First name Keith?
Yeah, and we couldn't get people 10 years ago, and so it was so bad. It's just a little bit worse for us. We're not like the restaurants that had locals, and well, I can't entirely put my finger on it, but we've dumped a lot of money into the system. We could all get political and talk about what led to this and who's working and who's not, but the reality is there's not as many people in the job market. There's not as many people taking jobs, and they're moving often, and it's just terribly hard to keep people employed now.
So your business, just to simplify it, is you change out filters at chain stores and clean HVAC systems out. That's what you do.
Correct. Mostly restaurant and retail, national chains, and then
And
some larger industrial.
You've always struggled with employees, is finding good
Always,
quality.
as far as technicians go.
Yeah.
I've got an office staff that's been with me forever.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful.
How about you, Tony? How's your?
Again, I'm very fortunate. I have a really good people. Most of my employees have been with me for, and I'd say an average of about 7 or 8 years. Turnover's been very low. Hiring, sure, it's a little tougher, but that's part of the industry right now, and that's just part of what everybody's experiencing. We've got a pretty heated economy, which is good, but we've also got people that have, as Chris pointed out, decided to do some other things, and we're definitely seeing a shift in attitudes towards work, and people want more flexibility, and are putting sort of a priority on their personal life versus their work life, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but for employers, it stings.
It's going to be a bad thing for them as the economy kicks them in the butt, and when they eventually can't get a job because they're unemployable because of their work history.
Sure. I mean, that's
I was thinking about it yesterday evening. We hear about all these reasons that people can't get a job and so on. You look at every single restaurant in Charlottesville, and
They're all hiring.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they have signs out, please forgive us for the service because. And I always say, entrepreneurs are selfish. I'm in it for me. I got God, my family, and then my business. And when they're going out of business, restaurants are going out of business every day. If there's a line of people with green heads and 3 eyes that was showing up to work there and they'd really do a good job for the money, the restaurants would be the best employers of people with green heads and 3 eyes because they're selfish. They don't want to see their business go out of business. And there's just not the people out there that are showing up to work.
Selfish and I was just, as you were saying this, every one of us at this table are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Self-employed.
Self-employed.
Business owners.
We created what we're doing.
Yeah.
On that end of it. And to your point, I was at a class yesterday with Keller Williams Alliance, and we had a dynamic speaker come in, and we were going to do a cocktail hour from 4:30 to 6:30, whatever it was. We couldn't start at 4:30 because they couldn't find people to come in to open up the bar. Right, which never stopped us because we found booze someplace else.
Yeah,
But that was a whole different issue. But we've been talking about inflation on the show, and I kind of want to talk a little bit about how it's impacting the real estate side of the house. But I kind of want to focus more on how's that impacting the county, right? How do you see that impacting the county? It's not going down, right? And then maybe your individual businesses.
And also add, do we also think that the economy is, you used the word heated. Is the economy, from my standpoint, isn't it vulnerable? Isn't it a precarious position here?
Sure, it's always cyclical, right? So you're going to have your ups and your downs. But if you look at the overall a labor market, you look at, job gains, you look at all those factors, and, certainly you would have to say that right now the economy is, heated from that standpoint. Will it be heated tomorrow? Certainly the Fed is looking to put the brakes on
they're
growth,
doing that. It's going to raise another half a point next week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, mortgage rates have jumped, 30-year mortgage rates have jumped from really 6 months ago in the
Low
low
threes.
threes, mid threes to 5.5 right now. That's a big jump.
It was 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was like that, and it's interesting. I made a post this morning, and I followed the week over week, 5 days over 5 days, and the whole car footprint. We're last 5 days, 95 homes came on, which means the inventory is starting to pick up. 71 went pending, and that's a lot to do. The inventory is picking up, and I'm going to try to stay away from the inventory word these days going forward. It's hard. I'm going that way. We just talked about it. We literally talked about this pre-show, and Smith just went, lost it. It's not easy, It's not easy. He'll tell you it's not easy being me and being
We're
the one.
looking to manage the perception for the market
wanted to
because a
sit
lot
over
of
there.
folks watch us and not use inventory shortage.
Yeah.
Is what we're trying to do here.
But there's more homes to buy right now.
Yeah, more homes.
Okay.
Well, I was
well,
told-
there's still 20 that are free, I guess.
Yeah, well, Lake
if
Monte-
71 went pending, right? So
Yeah, Lake Monticello's got 17 homes, no new construction, which is an uptick from it. So the market is changing. The point is, interest rates have done a lot for that, right? It's carved off a lot of folks. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it.
yes and no, right? I mean, you're always a fan of saying, you drive till you qualify, right? And certainly as interest rates push the cost of owning that home up, it means that somebody who is maybe looking to live in Charlottesville now can't afford it, the extra $500 payment that they're going to have to pay. So they look to other counties, and then of course that continues to push based on the inventory of those counties, if you would, and how heated it is, right? But I mean,
But just to put it in perspective, the 95 that's on the market right now, only 17 are at the lake,
right?
right? So that means
That's Fluvanna specific.
I'm not smart enough to
Is that Fluvanna specific?
The
Lake
17 is like Monticello
Okay.
specific versus overall 95.
Okay.
I believe there's another 23 in the county. So out of the 95, rough numbers is roughly 32, 36 in Fluvanna County and in the lake. So that goes to your point. The rubber band is kind of going out. But prices are going to stabilize. I'm starting to see it already. This last 5 days, there's been 38 price changes, which is you would never see 3 or 4.
That
weeks
means
ago.
people dropping the price.
Yeah. And
Now, some of them are up though. In fairness, some of that 38 are up. They're all new construction, by the way.
so when you ask how's Fluvanna, there's economic, and then tied to economic is growth pressures. So you're a one-stop like county that is endeared to that personality. And there's a lot of pressures on us in this real estate market to grow. And very little of that is internal, it's more external. And just glass half full, as the housing market settles, hopefully some of that pressure on us will settle.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I think it is.
No,
I think people are going to get to where, and you and I recently talked about this. So I used to always wonder, and you hear it all the time, if people want to move here to this wonderful place out in the woods, then why do they want to change it? And I thought a lot about that over the years. And recently I realized it's not all about the woods and the fields. A lot of it is because they want the Charlottesville area, but it's cheaper to live out there.
I think that's a huge chunk of it.
Yeah, and so, but they want the services out there. So they're not as worried about the trees and fields as I thought they were. But when fuel gets up to $5 a gallon, and that $5 a gallon every day back and forth is going to start affecting whether they can live closer to Charlottesville. I think it's going to settle. I hope it does.
Well, to Tony's point, it'll be the rubber band, right? It'll go out. And I used to be in that train of thought, right? It was $4 a gallon at one point,
Yeah.
right? We talk about this all the time. It's like, okay, $4 a gallon, other side of the mountain was going to go away. I mean, I've got a ton of papers from me. I could tell you Waynesboro, Augusta is blowing up, right?
Yeah.
Same price point as our county, by the way,
Yeah.
on that end of it, a whole bunch closer than that. And you're not seeing it. It's Tony's business that's making a difference. It's the fiber you guys have put in the ground is making a difference
Yeah.
on that end of it. And, let's face it, that 2017 is going to be a Hummer, maybe. If I can get Mrs. Smith to say yes.
Yeah.
Or somebody can give me a loan.
The electric one, which can you call it a Hummer if it's electric, but go ahead.
Oh, we're going to have that
Coming
debate?
from a Hummer owner.
We're going to have
Go
that
ahead.
debate?
Yeah,
We're gonna have that debate?
That just can go so wrong. So
But there's, the point I'm making is up until just these recent couple of years, I was totally in your ballpark. I was saying, yeah, Fort Allen fight. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you think that's going to impact the market?
Well, I mean, I do think that one of the pluses of having gone through COVID is that employers are recognizing that their employees do work hard even when they're working from home, and and now that Fluvanna County is really going to be one of the first counties in the area to have fiber to almost every home in the county. That's a huge advantage.
I think
temporary
Jesse
advantage.
Rutherford
Yeah.
would jump in at this point and
Well,
say, "We
well,
beat you."
Yeah, they
He
did.
would.
They
He
did,
would.
and
In
kudos
fact,
to
he
them.
told me to pass that along to them. Yesterday.
Yeah, he
Said
they-
make sure they know
Yeah.
that we're beating Fluvanna. I think those are exact
Yeah,
words.
no,
and
no.
he may be watching right
And he
now.
just texted me, saying, "Tell him."
Yeah, right. Well, no, and of course, the part of that whole history is really how it evolved in Nelson County with Blue Ridge, Blue Ridge, basically creating the fiber
With a partner
Co-op.
with Nelson.
the DSL up in Wintergreen,
sure.
and then bringing it down into
Sure.
Nelson. They did a program there, but the most significant change has been the dollars that the state and the federal have provided to allow broadband to grow. And Gary Wood at CVEC and through Firefly, caught the train just at the right time. He took and made a very bold move when he decided that CVEC was going to invest $100 million in bringing fiber to the area. But then, we just had the VATI grant, $80 million. That's
What we're talking
unprecedented money coming into. That's just $80 million for our area. $80 million coming in to provide fiber services. So, the recognition of how important it is for people to be able to access the internet at decent speeds, and to be able to work from home and do whatever they need to do. That's enormous flexibility.
I was mentioning to Jerry before the show, it's been a long time since I could say this. When this is over, I'm showing multiple clients, multiple houses all this afternoon, all day Saturday,
That's awesome.
all day Sunday.
It's a great sign.
I have not done that in quite some time. It's about half a dozen people, half a dozen buyers. Every single one of them, the first comment out of their mouth is, I need to know what the upload speed is, I need to know what the download speed is.
Yeah.
It's not how far is it, it's not how many bedrooms, it's not whatever. That's the first thing that they want to know. And then they start working their list down. And that's prior to COVID was not generally the case.
Yeah.
So my thing is, Fluvanna, because of fiber, that pressure is still going to be there.
Yeah. Look, people talk about whether you're anti-growth or pro-growth.
We're just
and
talking
I
practicality.
just said to somebody yesterday, it doesn't make a difference. Growth is coming. It's how you manage it. And that's just another example of it's coming to Fluvanna. It's how we plan for it and what we do in reaction to the inevitability that it's on its way.
So
My age demo, my friends, I'm 40. My friends say 34 years old.
You look so much younger than that.
I love this guy. I love Fairchild. Chris Fairchild from Board of Supervisors. My age group,
just Board of Supervisors?
Chris Fairchild from Delegate.
Just delegate.
Keep it up.
He has much bigger ego than that. I know.
They're all
It's
saying,
swelling.
they're
I
all
spent
saying,
enough time
let's
with
go
them,
to
I know.
Fluvanna. They're all saying that.
Oh, that's great. I love
It used
hear
to be Crozet for the schools.
that. Yeah.
Crozet's gotten so expensive that they're not even looking at it.
It's crazy expensive in Chris right now. Yeah.
Old Trail.
Not even looking at people moving out there, you're saying?
Yeah, they're now saying
it's-
Fluvanna. They're
mean-
saying schools are good. Let's go to Fluvanna.
So-
Let's consider the price point. Old Trail. I mean, you know this better than all of us.
Yeah.
0.09,
Yeah.
900K up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
0.09, Chris.
Yeah, so,
That lot size.
so give us time now because of all those pressures, we'll be there soon.
I
You
think
know,
Fluvanna is Albemarle from 15 years ago?
Parts of Albemarle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely parts.
Yeah.
Good point, because you know, you got to talk about that urban ring and so forth and so on. You know, Schuyler and some of the other areas where they're getting there now, right? You know, we're looking at one of the places I'm going to be going this weekend is Schuyler, and it's got an 8 in front of it, right? You know, that's unheard of,
Yeah.
right?
How much acres, though?
A little bit of land, right? I think it's like 3 or 4 acres, something along those lines.
Wow.
But it's still an 8.
Yeah.
Right? Have you ever would you ever think Schuyler area would have an $800,000?
No, but it makes sense to me now.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise.
So we talk about, and it's great, I wanted to segue into 2 different things. One is the water coming to Zion's Crossroads and Zion's Crossroads, right? So I think we can all agree if we want growth, that's Fluvanna folks, that's where we want to see it, right? For the most part, right?
Yeah.
In that area. You know, there's some good news also to share on the water line, right? Right? Is that fair to say, gentlemen?
Well, I mean, two points there. One is, the water line is basically complete in Fluvanna. There's a little bit of work that we need to do just to finish it up, but I expect
And
that
sewer,
that-
by the way. There's a sewer line and there's a
and sewer line as
sewer
well
line in the
too.
ground.
So it's you know, that's a real plus. It's something that we've really worked hard over the last 10 years to bring to Fluvanna. And
10 years?
well, I was going to say, you know, the
You used to
actual
have hair
progress
when
on
they
it.
started.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that is
No,
true,
it's to your point. It's really been a 40-year process, which I think sort of reflects the cycle of how things can change in a community. You know, how attitudes, you know, shift. What is the health of the community? How they view investment into infrastructure. You know, those are all things that are decided at the local board levels. And so, you know, we were fortunate enough to be able to partner with Louisa County with the James River Project. We were fortunate enough to have the Department of Corrections, which had the facility there and had some extra capacity, that worked with us to bring that initial pipeline, what we call the ZXR pipeline, which is our first pipeline coming into Zion's Crossroads. So we have that beautiful, I think probably the sexiest water tower around
Yes.
in the area. Yeah.
You guys know I've started biking instead of running. Is that the picture of me
That's
on the
it,
tower?
yeah, that's
Is
the
that me
picture
on the
of you,
tower?
yeah.
Yes.
Just checking.
Exactly.
I didn't get permission. I
We
have to
slimmed
call
you
my-
up a little bit,
Hey,
but-
Jerry, let's call the agent. We got to get a piece of them.
And then, of course, as you know, big news about a month ago was
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get
the
to.
resolution with the Monacan Nation to move forward with a new location for the James River Water Authority, and that's bringing really significant water to the
A
Zion Crossroads
substantial
area. Yeah.
amount of water. Just to put it in perspective, that's going to bring roughly 400,000 to 500,000 gallons of water a day, and that's within 18 to 36 months from where we're sitting right now. And I can tell you because it's from what I understand, and
Yeah.
the information, once the permit is issued, because the backbone's in the ground,
Backbone's in the ground, yeah. I
right?
mean, it's
This is
basically-
just the
it's a-
withdrawal and pushing the water
Yeah,
up.
yeah. I mean,
So-
this is about 2.5, 3 miles worth of pipe that needs to
It
be laid
is.
down.
It is not a lot of work
yeah.
to get it done once that permit.
Which you would think that would be easy, but it's taken us 4 years to get the 2.5 miles just from ZXR down. But
now
yeah.
those hurdles are removed.
Yeah, those exactly. So
The reason I wanted to bring it up, because Jerry and I have been talking about this for over 3 years now. What's the next crozet, as Jerry just alluded to? And it is Zion's Crossroads. And I can tell you from my world and the general real estate side and the commercial stuff that I do, there's 2 hotels coming in on the Louisa County side. There's a 500 lot subdivision coming up on that side of it. My phone is ringing because of that announcement. You know what's around in that area, so it's coming, gentlemen.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to take an opportunity to talk to you about that and kind of see what your litmus test is on that growth area. Should we increase the Louisa? It's going to be our side of the growth area. Should we leave it closer? We've had this discussion geometrically. It's kind of weird set up. Is there any discussions internally about that?
We have to have the infrastructure. If you're going to increase the footprint of it, you've got to have the infrastructure, of course, to support it. And the infrastructure that we are just now getting there can only support but so much. And, back in 2011, when I was on the board, there was a lot of discussion about if we should build a water line. And it'll do all this for economic development. And I said, when you get that water line there's going to be so much pressure to build apartments and so on, and that is not going to be economically a plus for us. And here we are, sitting here 10, 11 years later, and I'm one of the people saying, we got to get the pressure off the Lake Monticello Beltway and get that type of growth more to Zion's Crossroads. But there's only but so much capacity, and really it needs to be hooked to economic development. So where do we, so then we're almost against putting apartments and residential growth there. So
Well,
until we have more capacity.
Correct. So let's paint a picture here,
Yeah.
verbal picture here real quick. So the DOC capacity is extremely limited.
Very limited.
Right? It's 80,000 gallons of water.
Yep.
Just to put it in perspective, Lake Monticello and the surrounding area uses 500,000 gallons a day. So just, it's not a lot of water, and that's between the commercial and the residential and so forth and so on. The forward-thinking folks are already 2 years down the road with this 400,000 gallons, 500,000 gallons of water. And you and I have had this conversation before. The geometric configuration of our side of the line is not favorable to us, right? If you look at that map, that growth area, it's very disjointed on that end of it. And hopefully there's some relooking at that because, gentlemen, how much is this going to, when that 500,000 gallons of water there, how much is that costing our county? Total number in. Ballpark, we won't hold it to the penny.
I think our investment in the James River water pipeline is sub 20 million. I mean, really probably
It's
sub
going to be,
15
it's
million, but-
20 is a number I want to say.
Yeah, 20 million's the number, right? Just for the sake of a talk show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$20 million is a lot of money to pay back
Yeah.
to your pressure conversation.
Yeah.
Right. So, and we just talked the beginning of the show about how my taxes are going down. Right. So we're going to have to. I mean, I'm just me and you have 4 of us having a conversation here. We're gonna have to start looking at that progressively. No.
Yeah. I mean, so you want economic development, and suddenly you've got that monthly payment on it, meaning the taxpayers. And at some point, the taxpayers elect new people who go, part of the way to take that burden off of you is to put more apartments there,
Sure.
more users of water. So now you brought in a water line as an investment to help reduce or fight higher taxes, and now you're desperate to get users on the end of the line, so you bring in apartments that'll bring in a lot of water, but now apartments need more schools and fire trucks, and you're just back in the same cycle. So now what do you need? Now, as you're talking about, now your growth zone isn't big enough. Now you need to expand the growth zone in Zion's Crossroads, and it just becomes sprawl. And so
I'm curious of how the new folks moving into Fluvanna, because you're getting a lot of folks that are getting priced out of Charlottesville moving to Fluvanna. And these folks maybe have different ideology or ideals than Fluvanna current or Fluvanna the past generation. So as Charlottesville prices out folks with maybe open-minded liberal mentalities, they come to Fluvanna.
That's exactly right.
Does that change the voting cycle, who gets elected into office?
Oh, it will.
We saw that with Mill Creek and Albemarle County.
It will.
The urban ring of Albemarle County became Charlottesville. And then the ideology changed. Albemarle County was much more red or Republican a generation ago. Now it's very, very Democrat.
yeah.
Well, I can speak to your district, right? You ran unopposed, but our dear mutual friend, God rest his soul, Bill Hughes, ran for
School board.
right? And I was tracking the numbers when Bill ran versus the other gentleman that ran against, I can't remember, Anderson, I think it was his name. He cut Bill's loss in half in numbers. It was like 800 he lost or something like this.
That's
And
significant.
This
Yeah.
gentleman who nobody knew, Bill, everybody knew Bill,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Cut that to Jerry's point, cut that down. So you're going to start as Fluvanna County gets younger,
Yeah.
Gesundheit. He's going to start seeing that, and I think the same in Zion's Crossroads. So it's good we're having this conversation because, to your point, it's coming.
And that could be why you're hesitant about doing not hesitant, but offering perspective on more robust water infrastructure, because you realize that it's a gateway to a
But
lot
it's
of other
done.
stuff.
That's the problem. It's done.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't have
I
any say in
mean,
it at
I've
this
been
point,
pushing.
but it's still good to talk about the concerns of what will happen when it's there.
Let Tony
I've
jump
been
in.
pushing that we put sterilization into the water so that, we just don't have that growth that way. But
I'm
but
with you, brother.
Nobody's doing it, I mean. No, I mean, the fact of the matter is more people are moving to Central Virginia. They're discovering just how wonderful it is to live in this area, and
We're constantly
know
number
how
one,
each
number two.
county approaches the growth that they have. Changes the pricing for particular areas, how they are pro-growth or anti-growth, changes the way they view it. I mean, we recently turned down 2 developments, both in our growth areas, both with infrastructure, and that is one of the things that is a reflection of people feeling, as Chris pointed out, the pressures on the Lake Monticello area. But as a county, when you define a growth area, and you have the infrastructure in there, I think it's important that there is that smart planning, and you look and say, how much of a balance do we want between homes and businesses? And that's always a chicken and egg thing. Why does a restaurant come into Fluvanna County? Because there's people that want to eat there, right? Why does the tailor shop come there, or why does the dry cleaning place come? Why is a law office there? Because there's people there. So it's that balance between the two.
So I have.
That's just part of it.
Kelly Jackson just said she owns 17 Panera Breads. Her family owns 17 Panera Bread locations. I'm looking to bring something to Zion's Crossroads,
know.
Fluvanna County.
Absolutely, that's awesome. Let's
Well,
talk,
But that's
Kelly.
going to be on the Louisa
Let's
side.
talk.
I got to
because
say,
there's pads
Does
ready.
it have to be?
No,
well, I'll say to Kelly, I mean, it's probably going to be on the Louisa side. So,
Because of your 64.
yeah.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry.
Fluvanna starts about 9/10 of a mile off of 64, just onto the 250, or the Palmyra side of 250. And so, and God bless you. We want you to come. I don't know that retail is going to start going very strong on
Do we
the
have a
Palmyra
meals
side of
tax?
250.
We don't have a meals tax, right?
no,
Yeah.
no. We
That's your next.
So,
problem.
well, one of the things is that we had a referendum, prior
Mm-hmm.
to the change, just a year or so ago, where counties could go ahead and implement taxes that
Sure.
traditionally they haven't been able to implement. So we had that referendum, which means that we have to wait, I think, another year and a half. You have to wait 5 years before we could take action on that. We are participating in the cigarette tax, and that's going to bring about $200,000 worth of revenue.
So to Kelly's point, I've got a client that puts it's Chick-fil-A's, and we help them find spots. They will not come to Zion's Crossroads, which blows my mind.
Why is that? What's the reason?
Rooftops, not enough rooftops, right? And you would think, and these guys are, you're from this world, right? You understand this.
The retail world.
Their math, I would think, being right off of 64, personally, that I see a Chick-fil-A sign, that's where I'm making a right-hand turn.
Yeah.
Rooftops don't make a difference to me, but according to the bean counters, they won't come out. They won't come out there.
And it's such a circle that you got to figure balance through, because, all right, once you get enough rooftops, then you can get those things. Once you get those things, then you get more rooftops. And back to, we talked about before on here, Louisa had, they had 15 point something percent growth in the past 10 years. Fluvanna, I think, had 6 point something percent. You put Zion's Crossroads there, and it attracts people. And so we talk a lot about economic development, and
But if we keep it in this Zion's Crossroads area and pull this
Yeah.
pressure off of Lake Monticello,
Right.
So I'm going to have to dance around what I'm going to tell you very delicately.
Is this a development?
Yeah. So this project.
If I could, before we get off of
I'm
it,
sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Back to Kelly, because let's talk. Because I'm a realist talking about where Zion's Crossroads is on being able to accommodate that, or what
So
I think
I
the
have
market is good
clients
for.
work in that area. I know that area very well.
Yeah.
On that end of it, with all due respect, you have to be in Louisa County because that's the only place where the pads are.
Yeah.
Right? The acquisition for dirt, just the acquisition end of it on Fluvanna is off the charts expensive. There's really no place to go. You don't have the water and sewer. Kelly, how much water that she needs for...
She's watching. Ask her the question.
How much water do you need for a typical Panera? In other words, how much gallons per day? And to go back to the gallons per day comment that you made a little earlier, Chris, I love you, brother.
Here it goes.
When I started doing development, the rule was around 300,000 gallons per day of water. 300 gallons per day water for a house, which is insane. They've changed it. It's roughly about 80. Right? Because of water saving, people are using less water, so forth and so on. So it's that amount of water, when it was started, that 400,000 gallons of water back 30 years ago, it equaled X. They call them ERCs, equal residential equivalents. Well, that, to your point, is now huge, right? So you're going to have to increase the usage of water to pay back that $20 million more than you did 30 years ago, because the usage situation is very different.
You understand? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
You're
no, I
saying
get
it's
it.
even worse than what I was projecting
I'm
10
on the
years
same.
ago.
But the point is we got a $20 million bill we got to pay.
Yeah.
She
Somebody's got
says
to
to
pay.
answer your question, it depends on the size of the footprint of the cafe and whether it's a drive-through or not. And I would imagine, and this time COVID showed this, that it's certainly drive-through that they're looking for. I mean, all the models with the
Out there I would,
the
for
quick
sure.
serve is drive-through.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, what is a drive-through? I'm just curious what the.
Size, square feet.
Yeah, I don't know.
And we're going to broker a deal
15?
here.
No. Well,
Kelly, who's changing your air filter?
Oh, you wanted to make a
17.
quadrant.
Who's doing your
That's
IP
right.
work?
Exactly,
And
yeah,
who's doing your
It's a
marketing?
2-for-1 special right now. Right?
She's
Exactly,
sitting there
so.
chuckling right now.
Everybody will cut their rates for her. No problem, Kelly. By the way,
Congratulations,
She
Kelly.
is awesome.
17
She's
stores.
awesome.
That's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
She's come on the
Absolutely.
show a lot.
Good for you.
Absolutely
Huge.
awesome.
Yeah.
But Checkers, is it Checkers or Checkers
Checkers
just
just
came
opened, yeah.
into, and that's a drive-through.
Yeah, Checkers is great. That's a heck of a score.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So part of this discussion we're having, and it's part of why I'm very personally passionate about a regional approach on this stuff, is because we're at the point now as a region that what happens in Fluvanna County impacts Albemarle County. What happens in Albemarle impacts Fluvanna. What's happening in Greene County impacts Fluvanna. We joke around with Jesse, God love him, but what's happening in Nelson County is impacting Fluvanna. We're at this point in our growth, and I'm not talking about number of houses, I'm talking as a growth as people, as growth as a region. On that end of it, we need to have these regional conversations, because you just can't do it in a bubble any longer. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I'd say some of both.
That's right, you're a politician, I'm sorry. By the way, I can
It's
give
my
you a comment.
kind of politician.
You're one of the, with all due respect to Tony, you're one of the most natural politicians I've ever met.
Oh, good Lord. That's
I don't know
scary.
if I offended.
Is
I
that
think
a,
I
is that a
offended.
compliment?
So
I think
don't believe what you're saying.
I think I
It's
just
not
offended.
real.
My God, right?
Yes, we got to think regionally, while also, and Tony and I have talked a little bit about this, the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission Regional Housing Plan talks much of how, one part of the introduction says, doing these things so one community doesn't, something like bear all the burden. I in Fluvanna County with one stoplight do not think of us being the same as Charlottesville. And it talks about the plan being mirrored off of the plan that was written for Charlottesville.
Yeah,
I in Fluvanna County do not want to be mirrored off of what Charlottesville's doing.
So-
And our interests are different, our personalities different, and so yes, we need to think regionally. What you do when you go down your driveway might be very different than the way you think about your neighborhood.
Without a doubt, and as you know, I'm
Well
on
said.
it, and thank you for appointing me 11 years ago on it. You might be regretting it at this
Yeah.
moment. At this moment. I think the intent of that was, first of all, Fluvanna County staff had a huge part to the writing of that, because I know I was part of it on that end of it. But I think even though the words may say that, the intent is what I said, Rich, is that what's happening in Charlottesville will impact that. Clearly, we have micro markets within Fluvanna, right? Lake Monticello is very different than Scottsville, right?
Yeah.
Or than Moselle's district over in Fork Union.
Well,
right?
Lake Monticello in itself is an anomaly that most municipalities don't have.
Yeah.
40-some% of a county's population is in a gated community.
No county in the state of Virginia.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. Correct. Help me out here.
Think of the-
Reston is actually an HOA, so that's the largest HOA, Reston, Virginia. But we're the second, Lake Monticello. Most people don't know that.
I didn't know
Reston,
that.
Virginia,
Yeah.
is actually a homeowners association.
Woody Fincham watching the program.
Hey, Woody, thanks, man.
give Woody some props, and then I'll relay his comments to the
Yeah,
supervisors.
so Woody, thank you, is going to be one of our new sponsors out here on Real Talk with Keith Smith, and I can't wait to get him in one of these seats, and we'll start talking about my side of the house, his side of the house, and how it's impacting, he's an appraiser, how it impacts everything we're talking about here.
Finch,
need good appraisers.
Here's what he says for you guys. We left Albemarle County several years ago. Fluvanna was more appealing from a bang for our buck situation. It's a great community, a rural one. Folks move there for that, the rural aspect of Fluvanna County.
Yeah.
And he also adds, Chick-fil-A has a very specific model. Their real estate analysis is as comprehensive as it comes. The Starbucks there, which has an overlay of similar consumers as Chick-fil-A, is certainly not as busy as the others in Charlottesville, which supports Chick-fil-A's resistance to locate to Zion's Crossroads.
So the hotel there, the Best Western there has, so I have a hotel client looking in that area. It's amazing the amount, I think they have somewhere between 80 to 90% consistent occupancy in that. So again, to Woody's point, Chick-fil-A is a machine. It has a very specific structure.
They know
if
their
you-
business.
If you vary from that one way, it's a no.
But I want to get back to your point about it being a regional approach. The fact of the matter is that, people do go to where they can afford to live. Most people want to live in a home. Most people want to have that American dream. And when you, and it's of course one of the ways in which you can create wealth for yourself. I mean,
It's the number one way.
it's kind of a scary situation out there when you have folks that are really no longer, on pension plans that they can count on. They're looking at their 401k. God knows what happens when they're getting ready to retire. Most folks haven't, saved enough money, and so you're going to really see, a situation where wealth is now trapped into the homes. And if you're trying to sell out of that, you're going to need to go to another place in order to do that. And if you do that, where do you go? So there's always going to be a shift and a change. But the regional approach is, I think, important because at the end of the day, if Albemarle County decides that they don't want to have growth any longer, they just want to put a stop on. Board comes in, they start rejecting deals, that are coming through. Then that's going to go to maybe to Greene County or go to Fluvanna County,
Well,
and
that's
it
what's
depends on what the boards are doing there. The affordable housing crisis, which it is really a crisis, because folks can't afford to buy a home any longer, is something that is going to affect the younger generation.
But it's not a crisis in Fluvanna right
well,
now.
I mean,
Oh,
yes
It
and
is-
no. I mean,
it is not.
our
What's the median price in Fluvanna?
260.
No,
which
you're wrong.
which is
No,
climbing.
that's published.
right?
It's 260 or 265.
Yeah, how old was that? I love you,
I
but
think it's on TJPDC's website. I don't know. So
But the point is, it's climbing, right?
that's the medium sales price.
Right.
What is it?
I don't know.
Well,
It says
I'll give you an
345,
example.
that's the
I'll give you
median.
an example. I just, I had a friend who.
That's Fluvanna County, no Lake Monticello. First, from year to date, from January 1 to now, the median sales price is $345,000. That's for a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2,064 square foot house.
And where'd that data come from?
It came from Carr.
Okay.
Yeah, so
That's today's data.
Well, and
This
right.
is
Yeah,
this
and
is
I-
as of 6 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
right, and to your point.
So this is
there,
accurate to that.
That's not starter home
for
price.
today.
No, that's a colonial. So
Well, I'll find out where the data. We got to find out where the data came from.
Yeah, I can-
I, mean,
if
I
you're-
can just give you
That's
anecdotal
way too
examples
old.
right now. Friend of mine, colonial home right in the lake, bought it for $197,000 8 years ago. She just sold it for $369,000. Okay, that's in the lake.
That's tremendous.
I just had homes appraised. Not one of them was under. Well, actually, one was slightly under 300,000, which was an anomaly because, in my opinion, it was one of the better and bigger homes that I actually had.
Cheapest
But-
home at Lake Monticello available right now is $259.
And how long has it been on the market?
13 days, which means it's
Eternity. It's
that's an
scarred in
eternity.
scarlet letter.
There's some,
We're not in a crisis. The amount of people that fall into and maybe it's old data, and I forget the term that was used, but lower income or however it's gauged was, I think, 6%, or the poverty.
Poverty level, 6%.
Is 6%.
Oh,
But that's not affordable. What I'm talking about
So
is,
excuse me,
that's a
interrupt-
different point.
Well, it's
right?
an indicator. If your poverty level is low,
No.
it's certainly
The point that
it's
I'm-
certainly to gather that you're
No,
So
the
There's
point, that,
low
the
income
point that
level.
I'm trying to make is if interest rates are going up, that $369,000 home, which is an average home,
More expensive.
is more expensive. It now is going to cost you $2,000 a month. And oh, by the way, you've got to come down with at least a 10%
But you're helping because
deposit.
your taxes are not
Right.
rising.
Well,
Thank you.
we're helping with that, but you got to come up with that 10% deposit. You know, at a minimum, maybe a 15% deposit. That's $60,000, $70,000 that you can come up with. You know, if you're now paying rent, you know, because again, inflation has that impact, right? If inflation is coming in and the cost of lumber is this and the cost of labor is this, what does that mean? That means a per square foot house, the per square foot cost of each new house being built is higher, which is the comparison on which other homes are being looked at, which also in turn means that that homeowner, or if it's a renter, you know, if he's buying it as an investment property, is going to raise the rents on it. So, you know, average rents in Fluvanna County are now hovering near the $2,000 rent.
I was about to say, I just did a
That's
side-by-side
a lot.
Yeah.
I just did a side-by-side analysis versus a home that was sold and the home that was rent. It was $2,300. It was a three-bedroom, two-story colonial. Lake Monticello, $2,300. Blew my mind. I remember when we first moved there, you can rent it for like $200 a month.
Yeah.
On that end of it. Go ahead.
It's worth noting that if an apartment complex gets built around Lake Monticello, that we talk about whether it's affecting, you know, how it affects Flukos. On average, I would, so the 124 low-income housing apartments that are coming in Colonial Circle,
Yeah.
government subsidized, I would
LIHTC
bet,
funded.
what's that?
LIHTC funded.
I would bet you money that no more than 20% of those people are going to be from Fluvanna. So it's going to bring people in that are going to be of an age where most of them have kids or so on and so on. It's not going to serve, for the most part, it's not going to serve
Chris,
the
I've
current
been
residents of
living there,
Fluvanna.
not
I would not take that bet. I think
No.
he's 100%
Oh,
right.
he's not only.
Yeah. That number
Is he
might even be
100%?
high.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Well,
I
but-
know you're right.
Okay, but
So-
but so what, right? And here's my point, right? We're talking about a regional level approach, right?
Thank you.
That's
The
to my point.
The point being
Yeah.
is that same apartment being rented in Albemarle County is being rented for $2,400 a month, right? So if you can rent that apartment in Fluvanna County for $1,100, you know, well, for some people who are, you know, working, say, in a restaurant or, you know, maybe they're, you know, making $14, $15 an hour, you know, just the two of them, 30, you know, two people at $15 an hour, that's $60,000. Well, you know, affordability basically means how many people can afford to buy a home or rent a home where it costs them less than 25% of their income.
So
You know, and that's the math you got to look at.
But
you
that
know.
goes with the TJPDC regional approach when you say, so what? But I feel my responsibility is first to the residents and taxpayers that are there today. And not to
of course it is.
open it up to, in a way that reduces their quality of life and raises their taxes.
And there are people that work for Fluvanna County that make $14, $15 an hour. You know, there are teachers that are, you know, starting off. There are people that
Live
you
in
know
Buckingham.
live and now they can't afford to buy a home. And guess what? They can't really even afford to rent a home and stay within that 25% mark.
Yeah, so we're-
Again, most of those people won't be the ones in the 124 apartments.
We'll find out. You know.
Well, they're going horizontal and they're going to be going vertical about a year
Yeah.
from now.
Yeah.
So we're going to sit down here and have a cup of coffee and find out
Yeah.
where
We'll
that
find out.
math ends up. I have started changing my conversation with all these affordable housing things, and I'm not using the word affordable housing anymore. I'm using the word housing affordability because it's impacting every price range right now. You know, I can't, Mrs. Smith wants us to move from Fluvanna County. I said,
Chad Wood just asked, is your house on the market yet?
yes, yes. Yona, Chris Fairchild will not let me leave. He needs a place to store his other boat, right?
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, I can't afford what I want in Charlottesville.
And
That's
I've,
the reality of
I've
it.
got a lifelong friend who is now single, after raising her children, and they're now divorced, and she's living with her mother in Fluvanna. And so just to let you know, I do care about affordability. She sent me an email recently saying, unfortunately, affordable housing has been tagged with low-income housing. But I'm a woman who, at this point in my life, can't afford to get a house in Fluvanna County, on her own. So I understand that
That's the
perspective.
reason I changed the term.
Yeah.
From
That's what made me think of it. Yeah.
housing affordability instead of, because it's impacting. I have clients that are nurses that make really decent money that can't afford Fluvanna County, can't afford Albemarle County, can't afford Charlottesville, and literally saying, "Oh my God, did I make a mistake coming here?" Because they never were told about the housing affordability issue here,
Well,
and they can't even afford Fluvanna County.
Keep pumping growth into it, and it'll become less affordable.
The problem, Chris, is this is I did an interview on Channel 29 about the cost of apartments going up, and that's a whole different topic, and that's growing at an exponential rate as versus sales, the actual sales end of it. But the reality of it is, and you know this because you were side by side with me, and I want to thank you for that. In the time of great unpleasantness, when I lost everything that I had, the industry as a whole went from putting 2 million new homes in the ground to 300,000, and it stayed there.
And it also bankrupted the small builders, which is very
a lot
much
of them,
impacting.
absolutely.
And that was the big problem. My business,
Yeah.
I was done, right? I couldn't do it on that end of it, and then the big guys came in, and they kind of kept on going on the end of it. But we are roughly, and we had actually a really good year this year. I think we're going to hit somewhere around 1,750,000 units to get built, which is huge, a huge thing. But we're about 4 to 5 million units short. So it's like, we're business guys. It's Econ 101.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right?
supply and demand.
People are growing. 47, next year will be over 50%. 40% of all the buyers last year was Mr. Miller.
Well, and there is
Millennials.
There is also a challenge when you don't have that affordability, which isn't necessarily something that people think about. I was talking to my sister; she's in Culpeper, and she mentioned, and she lives in a nice neighborhood. I think the homes there are around 450,000 roughly. Typical colonials. And she said, "Well, we just got robbed," and she says, there are homes in our neighborhood.
Physically robbed.
Yeah.
Oh.
There are homes in our neighborhood that
Well, that kind of goes to Chris's
there are
point,
10,
though.
10 or 15 people living there.
Yeah.
Well, why are 10 or 15 people living there?
Well, first
because
of all, that's illegal.
That's illegal.
it may be,
But
but
they're doing it to
my
share the
point is
overhead costs.
they're doing it to share the overhead costs.
Yeah,
Exactly
yeah.
right. They're doing it to share the overhead costs. And is that attractive to your neighborhood?
Again,
I would say it is. I would say that's a minus, right?
if pumping growth into a community doesn't raise the cost of living, then there's something wrong with the math that's comparing us to all the larger municipalities. The cost of living is higher.
Oh, without doubt.
Yeah.
Right, that's why I keep on
inflation's
advocating,
killing us, too,
putting
right?
that substance in the water just to,
I've already got that taken care of. Thanks very much. I'll stop drinking the water. Not that anybody wants to know about that stuff.
I know where that's going.
But look,
Jonah and I have talked.
Yeah, I know. Look, thank you for doing this, guys. This is, we've got a bunch of time left on it, but this is what I wanted to get to, right? And, this is important stuff, and everybody's got a little bit of different opinion on it. But the only way that we're going to move this needle anyway is to have a conversation
Amen.
like this, right? And
Respectfully.
we may not agree with something, but at the end of the day, we'll go out and have a cocktail.
Yeah.
And the good news is I'm seeing more of that happening lately than not, so which is a positive sign on that end of it. But I had a client call me the other day, Lake Monticello, 2 houses to the left, 2 lots to the left and right of this person got sold to Liberty. There's new construction homes going on that. And she's upset about it. And I get it. They were on the market. She had an opportunity to buy them. She couldn't. That's a whole different animal. But I said to the young woman, she's been there as long as we have, 30-something years, 35 years. I said, what do you think was going to happen?
Right.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
And
And even more importantly is, does not that person who owns that piece of property have the right
Yeah.
to sell that piece of property? And does not the person who wants to build on that have the right to do that?
But she's been
You
living-
didn't buy that land.
I know
You
that's
that
right.
was your choice.
But
you
she
didn't buy that
didn't-
land.
But the
she's
point
been-
of where you're going with that is you're talking about already in a subdivision that was set to have that home on it. And where you and I typically have that conversation is where you're talking about farms turning into subdivisions. Those are two different things.
Sure, but again, I mean, we had this conversation the other day. You were saying, we were talking about a business tax in Fluvanna, right? We don't have one, which is a plus, right? But we were also talking about how do we market and
but you
bring
might
in
have to
people,
revisit that, right?
No, we might have to revisit that.
When
And
you
so
said
the
that's a
concern
plus,
was
does that mean you will not vote for a B
No,
poll
no, no,
tax?
no. I'm not in favor of a B poll tax necessarily,
Well done.
right? You know, but again,
Just
there's
pay
lots
my
of formulas.
B-poll tax.
right?
Not a huge fan of that tax.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it as well too. But let's face it. I mean, businesses are citizens in their communities as well too, and they share in that cost as well too. The cost of the infrastructure, the cost of the services, they participate and share it. I would love to see the B-poll tax go down in Albemarle, fellow supervisors in Albemarle County. It is painful. It is one of the biggest taxes that I pay. And I've had conversations with business owners that have said, what would happen if I moved to Fluvanna? Well, if you're paying $20,000 in B-poll taxes, you might say it's $2,000 a month I can save right there.
You should leverage that in marketing campaigns.
Yeah,
That's
no.
20,000 to the bottom line.
But the point was, it was about a
huge.
business license is what we were talking about, because we don't even have a business license, which I think is a negative when you look to say, what is our business community? And
That's
Chris,
less about the tax, more about who's in your business.
who's in your business.
Well,
Right. But people say it leads to a tax, and so
Sure.
that this.
We don't, we're not going to
open the
take your
door,
guns, we
right?
just want to register them. And
But-
how did that go?
You made a point of saying, I don't want government knowing about my stuff. I don't feel like I need to register for that, because you're a business owner and you feel like I have this right. And you have a piece of property that right now, if you want to turn around and sell it, you could make a lot of money on that,
Yeah.
and there could be a lot of homes on it. But you've decided that your right is that I want to live that land, I want to be on that land and live that way, because that's what I want to do.
Well,
But the business owner or landowner who chooses to take a different approach, they have that right as well too. And I think that's a really important thing.
So I think it was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I think when a county defines where their growth areas are, when you tell them what the rules are, and then you don't follow those rules, I think that's a real negative. Right?
So a couple quick things. One, I got the chance to meet Virginia's first county planner, and I think it was Franklin County, and he talked about how much of an uprising there was that they were going to tell people what to do with their land. So since then, every municipality has planners, and we do tell people what they can do with their land. And there's some consensus within the community, and we already have tons of that you would agree with. We already restrict how much they can build.
It's called
And-
zoning.
Yeah, it's called zoning.
And we didn't get it in our county, I believe, into the mid-'70s.
Right. So we all believe in zoning, and
That'd be 1970s, by the way.
yeah. And I'm sorry, I forgot the second one you were going to. I'll remember in a second. But we've got to be smart enough to control growth, both for quality of life and to keep to keep our cost of living low. And that's a responsibility, in my opinion, that we have as a board of supervisors.
So I don't think there's a single person at this table that does not agree with that statement that it should be managed, it should be done in a holistic way. The regional approach helps with that, right? It's not the silver bullet, it maybe be a silver buckshot kind of thing on that end of it, but
Helps with what? The regional approach helps with what?
with trying to go ahead and manage growth
Management,
and control is a word I don't particularly like.
Yeah.
Manage is to me a better word. On that end of it, it says the same thing, but
But I'm not sure, the reason I asked, I'm not sure I see much in the regional approach that helps to keep the cost of living and the growth concerns down for Fluvanna.
yeah, I would encourage you to please join us at our next regional housing partnership. We always have a roundtable at the end of it, and Same thing on the planning district commissioners. One of the things that I appointed was a roundtable thing. And that's really opened my eyes to this regional thing when I'm talking to somebody from Nelson County or Greene County, and we're talking about the same issues that we're having and how you're managing it in that county and how we're managing it in this county. So that's the regionality I'm talking about. I'm not saying
there's no benefit.
well, and you're a graduate of Sorensen, so you know how this works,
Yeah.
right? Sorensen Institute. So that's the type of regionality I'm
Yeah,
talking
I got you.
talking about.
Well, I mean, again, regionality, we're participating in a program with Louisa County, right?
Yep.
Why did we invest in water? Well, we invested in water because we felt that we needed economic development. If you listen to folks 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you know, their cry was, well, Fluvanna just doesn't have their act together because they're not focused on bringing businesses into the area. You know, they need to do what Louisa County is doing as far as that goes, right? So we partnered with them, and we're going to have water in the Zions Crossroads area. We're going to have more water in the Fork Union area. We were able to negotiate with Dominion, and they gave us a substantial amount of money so that we can, you know, help to build the Fork Union area.
Good for you.
Which is great, and you know, Dominion's an excellent partner. But the point being is that, you know, housing growth tends to focus around where the infrastructure is. And you know, that's just part of it. Why is there so much pressure on the lake area right now? Because that's where the infrastructure is. There is no other infrastructure per se to allow that type of zoning and development from that standpoint. And I understand when somebody, you know, who moved to that area says, you know, I really like this rural nature. I do understand that. But, you know, one of the things that I've learned on being on the board is that there is this thing called, you know, CPA zones. There are these areas where they're there, and that you do have a right to buy land if you don't want to see that developed, right?
That's the other item I was going to. That's the item I was going to go to earlier that I forgot. You're talking about these growth zones, and you say if we're not going to do what we say we're going to do, it absolutely says. I think it's 17 times it talks about in the comprehensive plan about protecting our rural environment, and talks about that's one of our number one goals. And it says that it does not suggest that every property within one of those zones is suitable for the type of growth that's been laid out. So no matter what we said in a comprehensive plan, and no matter what that developer wanted to do about Village Gardens, the dangers of entering Route 53 were not worth, as one property owner said, the mother and 3 kids in the minivan pulling out there, they were not worth what our comprehensive plan says and what the developer wanted. That's why the comprehensive plan says this does not suggest that every property within that growth zone is suitable for this type of growth. So we did exactly what our comprehensive plan says.
And there is an entire process that is followed to come to that decision to say, is it suitable or not? You know, there are professionals that examine that and then come in and say, yes, it can handle that growth, or no, it can't. And when you're presented with information that says, yes, it can do it, but you have a personal feeling that it can't do it, you know, and you know, I'm not saying that DMV doesn't trail. I mean, yeah, you know, they do trail.
They react.
They react. Okay, I'm not saying that's not the case.
DMV.
Yeah.
Department. I'm sorry. Not
VDOT.
VDOT.
Okay.
VDOT. Yeah,
Got it,
not
got
DMV. VDOT.
DMV does too, but anyway, that's a different subject.
They trail. I'm not saying they don't
You were
trail,
losing me
and
there.
that you
I was
don't look
following
at
you.
those
Lost me.
things, right? I'm not saying that you don't do that, but the point being is that the point that I was trying to make is that if you move into a growth area, you should expect that growth is going to happen in that area, right? You should expect that. And it's difficult when that growth is happening right next door to you. I understand that. I do understand that, okay?
So let me jump in as the recovering developer and builder in the room at the table. And to Tony's point about give me the book, give me the checklist to follow, give me the playlist to follow. And to your point of protecting the rural area, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about Zions Crossroads, because if we can try to get that playbook right, and if we can try to focus on the Zions Crossroads, it'll take pressure off the rural area, right? Because what's happening now is that, okay, I'm not going to get a project approved around Lake Monticello or some of the other, I'm just going to do by right. Right?
Yeah.
So what happens with that is, from my perspective, and as a county resident of 35 years, all of a sudden now my green space is going away to houses that are in this cluster development environment. So maybe you guys might look at changing that in the future, but at the moment as it stands, that's what's going to happen. So that's why it's important to telegraph out to the public or out to everybody that's doing this, this is kind of how we want to figure it out here. So I want to keep Jerry's farm a farm, because otherwise what's going to happen is with the pressure and the taxes that may go up, this is Long Island all over again. He may end up having to sell his farm.
I asked it when I was here last time. Are developers in Fluvanna doing by right developments at a profit?
It's interesting.
You said yes
Yeah,
last
but
time.
that's changed, though.
Well,
That's
they're
starting
doing
to. I know that, but that dynamic's going to change because of inflation.
The point is, they've been doing it for a long time. They're doing it right now.
They are.
The one that failed
Yeah.
went from 340-ish to roughly
Yeah.
48 homes. And the part of the argument is, we decided we should put it here so we take the pressures off over there. And what I said last time is, one, it's still happening over there. And two, once this fills in, they're not taking their toys and going home and saying, well, they said they don't want it out there. No, they're doing it as we speak, and they're going to continue to do it on the
I
farm.
think inflation's impacting that. You'll be surprised what's going to happen there.
But inflation, that's a momentary thing.
I agree with that.
The mentality and the way you plan for and structure what's good for your county. So if you're going
So
to
you have
have
an
by right development on farms around that area anyway, and now you have 49 homes instead of 340,
But
it's hard to argue
You
that
and I
that's.
had this conversation, and to Tony's point, then change your comprehensive plan. Change your
Oh, I agree.
Change your
Yes.
comprehensive
We're in the
plan.
process of doing that, and that's part of what happens. But again,
Well, that's important to talk about.
following the cycle, right? If you don't have that growth, right? If you don't have the homes coming in, then you put you put pressures on inventory
Sure.
to get back to that point of inventory, which then pushes the pressures of the prices up, right? So
Kinda
you
like
know,
the word pivot,
that
inventory
happens
stop.
from that standpoint. Somewhere, if in the next 10 years we're going to have 200,000 people move to Central Virginia, they're going to go somewhere, and to the degree that there is or isn't, housing stock that's available for them to buy, or apartments or whatever, is to the degree that the prices continue to go up, which is to the degree that affordability becomes an issue.
So on Monday,
So it is a
Chicken and egg.
cyclical. I mean, it's a full cycle thing, right?
but that's what it takes. What we're doing here, right? That's very much so. We have to have that conversation. Look, you've been in politics long enough. You're in business long enough. You've been in politics. There's some people you're just not going to make happy, but you're doing your honest best to hit that middle. And I think you guys will get there. I have absolute faith in the current Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors. We're not struggled with some of the problems that Charlottesville may have had in the years past. And the fact that you two gentlemen can sit here in a live show and have this conversation and still work together as clients.
Yeah.
Well, who's the client? He's your client, right? Yeah. So
I'm the client.
that's right. You're the client
Yes.
of him.
I am very fortunate to have him as a business partner.
There you go. Well done. Well played.
Well, that's a
Well played.
politician.
Well played. We need a clap on that one.
That was so good. All right, I got it for you. There we go. For Tony O'Brien.
He didn't know we had sound effects.
Yeah. Well, I've had them for me.
No, sorry to interject here real quickly, but to Keith's point of, yes, conversation is important and sharing ideas, and I'm Irish, so my sometimes my excitement gets the best of me.
So as my
Chris is cool as a cucumber. He keeps his composure.
No matter what's going on
no
up
matter
here.
What's going on in his head?
Oh,
there.
really? There's something going on up there, really?
But
Well,
even when I get heated, and sometimes Chris will say to me, "Hey, well, why did you get a little testy there?" Well, I'm Irish, That's just the way that goes. But at no point in time do I not
At the
respect.
time, you said, because you're wrong, Chris. You didn't say Irish, but go ahead.
Well, I'm right,
So, as my grandmother used to say, who was from Ireland, Keith, there's no sense in being Irish if you're not stubborn or hot-headed.
Or did they say drink a lot too?
Well, thank you.
It's a family show.
Travis Hackworth watching the program. He's a stakeholder in Danville. We got Danville on the show. He says we're having this issue in Danville as well. Not a lot of new housing being built, and it's putting a lot of pressure on the inventory in town, and it's forcing prices far above their actual market value. This is a common storyline everywhere.
And that's
storyline everywhere.
And in your travels around the country, you hear this and see this, right? This isn't exclusive to us, right?
Right.
It's a national trend.
Yeah.
Is there a
Plus, I'd also add, part of the reason it's a national trend is we're at a strange moment in time. There's a
Yeah.
lot of economic dynamics going
It's
on.
a natural trend because we're 5 million units short.
Well, and to his point, we also have a huge group of people looking to buy homes now, with millennials and younger.
50,
Yeah.
the buyer pool of the millennial, unfortunately, only on this side of the table is not included in that.
Yeah.
Included in that is the largest buyer profile.
Sure, of course.
We're in the boomer end of it. You're probably Gen X, I think, or
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't have time to wonder.
yeah. But the reality of it is, his generation, his buyer pool is like double
Yeah.
what ours is. They're
Well, we already have our houses. We're the old farts,
Well,
right?
what it is they're moving up into this 30, 34, two partners, a kid, or whatever it is. They're looking for, I had stats in a meeting, in a previous show, which I didn't bring with me. This millennial buyer, everybody thinks that they're going to downtown Charlottesville. They want Lake Monticello.
The millennial buyer is having a really hard time affording Charlottesville in general.
I'm talking
And
about
even
product
that
type.
market.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about product
You're
type.
talking living in this urban atmosphere where they can walk, play, have
That
fun.
has changed.
Live, work, play.
That
Yeah.
has changed.
The millennial still wants the white picket fence in the backyard, their
That's my
dog and
point.
kid complaining.
That's my
We
point.
all want that.
Did you say kid complaining? My hearing aids are finally
We said
catching up to
kid. Yeah, I've noticed you're hearing me over here.
Yeah, I'm hearing
Yeah.
the right one's popping out. I gotta have to go to VA and get that fixed.
I wanted to say back to, I think it was Woody that said that he moved out there in part because of the quality of life and the rural nature. And I've said on here before, I am pleased to see that it used to be the from heres that were saying, slow down this growth. And now it's the come heres and from heres who are together saying, we don't want to lose either what we've always had or what we've come here to enjoy. And I understand to the whole thing of, yeah, but they came here too. There's getting a point where even the come heres are starting to realize the room's getting full.
With
And
all,
it's lowering the
with all
lowering
due
the-
respect,
the
that's the
quality of
same
being
in
there.
Danville. That's the
Yeah.
same in Waynesboro. It's just that's a kind of unlikely.
And I want to do well at managing my house and figuring our way through that.
And that's what we're doing here.
Right. And again, a growth area is defined as a growth area because that's where you want to see it happen, so you don't have the rural sprawl, and so that those farms can maintain themselves.
I think we always get back to this right here.
But wait a minute. The point being is that if you look at Fluvanna as a whole, 40% of the population is concentrated in probably about 1/10 of the size of Fluvanna.
3,500 acres.
Right. Okay. Just in that one little section there. So
3,500
Lake
that's
Monticello.
concentrated growth. That's Lake Monticello. We will certainly see growth where infrastructure comes in. But that doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of amazing
just think when
pieces
you-
of property and farms and trees in Fluvanna County. I mean, that doesn't mean we don't have that.
So
we,
I see
we
an
still have it.
I see an opportunity here, right? We're going through our comprehensive plan. We know we've got water coming. This is not a matter of if. This is a matter of when. It is coming to Zions Crossroads. And maybe the conversation needs to be, let's look at our growth areas, right?
Yeah. As you said, to the comprehensive plan. Yeah.
Right. So two things, real quick. Please get engaged, right? To the public that's listening.
That's what she said. I'm sorry, go ahead. The fabulous Cindy Alpaw is online now.
Give a shout out to Jesse Rutherford.
Hey, Jesse, how's it going, brother? Is he watching?
Yeah.
We love you, Jesse. Got to talk to you. I got to bring you on next month.
Yeah, well, you need to get the three of us on together. That'll be
jeez.
fun.
Well, it's a little difficult with four microphones to go ahead and do that.
Oh, you don't need to be here.
Yeah,
That's
we didn't mean you.
Jerry will do just fine.
Just turn around, look at that picture behind you. Just whose name is another?
okay.
Whose name?
The reason we were hesitant to design this logo and this website was because of that comment right there. Anything else that Keith Smith
Right.
can utilize to go here, it's good.
Just-
yeah. Okay.
Oh, really?
That's my concern.
Says you.
Yeah, that was my concern.
Really? Should I start telling stories?
Yeah.
I mean, we keep on doing what we're going to do. I mean, and in the whole area, we're going to put you out of business.
Yeah.
I've been there before. I can recover. The other thing I wanted to give a shout out to our county and for folks who are listening or maybe watching. One, please get engaged with the process.
Yeah,
I've constantly,
absolutely.
one of my taglines for the show is tune in, ask question, and be engaged, right? So please be engaged in the process because it does matter. It really does matter. And when somebody comes before you in the dais and talks to you, it matters. right? And the second thing is a shout out to the county in Pleasant Grove. This is a 1,000-acre park in the middle of our county that Yona and I walked there.
Underutilized.
We hiked there
Yeah.
on Sunday for 3 hours. And
Did you see anybody?
I didn't see a single person.
Yeah.
Trails are groomed
On Sunday, you said?
on Sunday.
It was Easter. I mean,
He was
Some
looking
people-
for that golden
You
egg.
always got to ruin it. Yeah.
We told him the golden egg was somewhere in the fields out there.
It
you know.
was.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Keith.
Remember, turn around. Look at the picture.
Yeah.
Look at the picture.
You came a little late, I think, because there were hundreds of kids out there earlier.
Yeah,
Well, you know,
Looking
I
for plastic things and candies.
I think
plastic
we
eggs.
put
A
out
little-
2,000 eggs or something.
that were going in 9 minutes or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Guys. Woody says with the location, guys, we're not going to get to all the comments here. There's quite a bit. I've tried to tag the supervisors and as many as possible so they could see them after the show. This is a good one that maybe we close with. With the location along the interstate, the northern part of the county would be an ideal growth area. We just need to get the infrastructure in there to do it.
Yes.
And then the remainder of the county can keep a lot of its rural nature that
Absolutely.
it has that we all want.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So to that point, right, and that's what I've been trying to push here is the water's coming, so it's going to be there. It's a matter of time at that end of it. And to be frank, I made the motion at the commission to do this Fluvanna, Louisa small area plan. Now's the time to do the planning. Now's the time to say this is how we want to do this. And to your point, before it's too late, before it's just hitting us so hard.
Yeah.
We don't have our vision. We're all business people. You do business plans, right? Vision, goals, and all that kind of.
And to your point of being engaged, you know,
I'm married, but that's okay.
Right. But, you know, and to the comment that was just made, you know, if you talk to a lot of folks, they'll say, yes, I want to see Fluvanna grow smart. And I think, you know, the Zions Crossroad area is where that should happen right now.
Yeah.
Which is great, but make no mistake, folks in the Troy area, folks in the Zions Crossroad area, they will say to us when that happens, and we're talking about putting a development next to their home, they will say all the reasons why that shouldn't happen.
Of course.
You know, and
it matters.
And it's, you know, it's just part of the process. You know, it's part of the process. Now, they have an option to buy the land around them if they understand where the growth area is.
Yeah.
And maybe 20 years down the road, they choose to sell that. That's their decision.
Yeah, that's a little
You know.
unrealistic with prices of
No, I understand that. I understand that. But I'm just saying that, you know, in general, right, you're always going to have people that get upset, and I respect their opinions, and I really do. And, you know, boards face those pressures. They know some of those people, of course, many of those people. And you know, it's a difficult decision to make, to say, I understand what you're saying, but I have to look at the county as a whole, and this is where we decided we were going to put our growth area in. You
And
know,
with that being
that's
true-
where it's going to happen, right?
I agree with that. With that being true, that's comparing the mentality they'll have to the mentality that the people around the Lake Monticello Beltway have, and those are two different things. They've experienced it around the Lake Monticello Beltway, and how much are they going to have to experience before we say, you've done enough, God bless you, you've sacrificed.
So you have an opportunity as a board to work on that.
Yeah.
To carve out, say, okay, this is our vision, and if it's the collected vision, then that's what it is, and if
Yeah.
it's not the collected vision,
Right.
then that's not what it is.
The will of the board at the end of the day.
Well, it's the will of the people because it's a process, right?
Yeah.
If the people are engaged, they go through the planning commission. So it's not,
They elect the people that are going to
they
be on
elect the
board.
people.
They're
So
gonna
this
make
is
the
not a 5-person, this is what we want. This is a much bigger thing.
Comprehensive plan, so on and so on, yeah.
So I would be very remiss if I didn't close on this because Mrs. Smith very early
She's
this
watching right now, too.
morning said, make sure you do this.
Oh, yeah, we got to get that on. He's got it ready. You got that ready to go, Judah, on screen?
So
Look at that. It's working.
more Fluvanna. Yona, my wife, is a board member of the Fluvanna SPCA,
Mm-hmm.
and they're having an event this Sunday called Pints for Pours.
Did you say pour?
I
I know you have to pour the pint,
I
but
knew that.
He did say pours.
I mean, that's what I
You
heard.
can't
right?
help it.
Yeah.
The Yankee always comes out. But, dude, you got to read this or your wife is going to be
Yeah.
upset with you. So please
Keith,
get this out there.
No, they're making it in front of
Pints
me.
for pause, man.
I don't want to do it.
Pints for pause.
Would you like me to read it? No, go ahead.
So anyway, so it's over at the Brewing Tree. It's in Nelson County. A shout out to
Jesse.
Jesse Rutherford hey, we need a brewery in Fluvanna County so we can have this, guys. So somebody please put a brewery in Fluvanna County. But we're at the Brewing Tree. It's on Sunday between 2 and 5. You get a glass for $10, and the bottom line is Fluvanna County SPCA needs some money to buy food. And,
Amen.
And it's an interesting, I learned about this morning, as I was told, make sure you
What
don't.
you're going to talk about?
What I
Yeah.
was gonna
She's
talk-
happy.
What I was going to talk
She's-
about, it's interesting, it's our county's no-kill shelter,
Yeah.
right? So,
Great board there, dedicated volunteers.
yeah,
Yeah,
unbelievable
really great.
thing.
I have a wonderful dog that came from that.
And we have one
That's
now.
okay.
Yona got on the board, and we got a dog. I'm not really sure how that worked, but we've got a dog, and I'm grateful that it's just one. Because
I would
She
count on
doesn't-
that. I'm pretty
Join
sure.
an
Especially when
adoption
Forrest
agency.
gets out of your backyard.
I'm
don't
pretty
even-
sure you're gonna have more paws around your house.
Yeah.
you don't even know how to say it right there.
No, I don't know.
Not even know how to say it right.
No.
I was looking at this morning. I'm going, oh, honey, this is not going to go well. Can you change the name?
He says,
or something?
please come and join us, all for supporting our Fluvanna County SPCA and the well-being of the animals.
Ultimately, he had to do the pitch.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I'm here for.
That's what he's here
Yeah,
for.
I try to keep him in line.
I do want to point out that there is a company in Fluvanna County that does make beer. It's Antioch Brewery. They just don't
Oh.
have a facility where
Yeah,
they're
right.
doing that right
Yeah,
now.
correct,
But,
yeah.
but
I
you
did
know,
not know that. Thank you
yes,
for sharing
we do
that.
have Antioch.
Well, I asked Yona to give me, to your point, I said, give me some bullet points to talk about. She said, yeah, you can't read, so
Yeah.
don't worry.
She didn't say that to you. She's too nice to say
Gentlemen, I've been looking forward to this for a
that. The
while.
show is always awesome.
You're very close friends. We may not see eye to eye on the thing, but we have enough respect and love for one another to speak our heart and go out for pints for, go ahead, say it,
Pause.
for pints for pause,
Yeah.
on
You can
Sunday.
pause while you pour.
Just go out, buy a glass, help support
Absolutely.
the SPCA. It's a great organization.
Absolutely.
Honey, did I do good?
Yeah, you did well.
You did well.
You
Yeah.
did
Oh,
well.
you beat me to it.
You
Yeah,
did
yeah.
well, Keith. You did well. Judah Wickauer, you did well as well. He's our director. Tony O'Brien and Chris Fairchild, just A-plus people. And this literally is one of our best shows when this panel and this roundtable gets going. It's just comfortable, free.
You say that to
flowing
all the
discussion.
guests.
I do not.
No,
he knows.
he does not.
He knows. I do not.
Well, thank you.
Sometimes my job is way more difficult. When you guys are here, it's not difficult. It's a
Right.
pleasure. Real Talk with Keith Smith. Find the website,
Yeah. So,
realtalkwithkeithsmith.com.
yep, find it. And I think next month we're going to be doing some social media for it. So we'll.
We're just waiting for some responses from you.
Oh, really?
To green light some stuff. Hint, hint.
Smith does not
Over
read.
there, Keith.
Got it.
But this is the show. It's presented by Keller Williams and Yes Realty Partners. Yes Realty Partners, just a trusted name in the real estate game. For Keith, Chris, Tony, Judah, I'm Jerry. The I Love Seville show is up in about 42 minutes, guys. Thank you kindly for joining us. Take care.
God bless Ukraine.
Yeah, there you go,
Yes,
brother.
indeed.
Well said. Well said.
As you know, I lived in that part of the world.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm employed from that country.
Oh, we should
I
have
have
talked about that.